Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, March 5th, 2026. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. Shocker, we couldn't get started on time again. Like I said, you need to ante up for the C-SPAN. Get your premium entrance before we get going here. It'd be like having the entrance to the text thread you have with your college friends, and that wouldn't be good. But we do have Garrick, Hodge, and Mark Porter today, and we've got some really interesting stuff to go over. 24/7 has updated its top 247 rankings for the class of 2027. These updates tend to come, I would say, bi-monthly on a Wednesday. I think it's supposed to be the first Wednesday of the month.
The last update for 27 was October of last fall, I believe. So it's been quite a bit for 27. They do obviously the current cycle a little bit more frequently, but juniors about to be seniors. This has been their first update in about 6-ish months.
That's great, which is good. Yeah, once they get into the groove, I think going forward now, it's like every 2 months, first Wednesday, but we will get to that. It's very interesting. Hey, when you're going to start with the rankings, let's always start with an Ohio State commitment being number one overall. Let's start with that, Garrick, and then let's work our way into what you feel like are the notable moves, and then we'll kind of go down and break everybody down how they move. Basically, DJ Jacobs hasn't gotten any worse since the October update.
No, he has not. We get a little bit of an advance notice, an embargo release on, hey, here's the movers and shakers kind of thing the day before these rankings come out, theoretically. And I already had it pre-written that DJ Jacobs was going to be the number one player in the country because it seemed pretty evident to me that, when Mark Porter says that this is one of the best prep defensive ends that you've ever scouted, then by golly, he's one of the best prep defensive ends that you've ever scouted and come across on your television screen. So DJ Jacobs remains a hell of a player, a dynamic playmaker, and someone that is the crown jewel of Ohio State's 27 recruiting class at this moment, and that's not going to change. So DJ Jacobs, what more can we say about the guy that we haven't already? He can get after the quarterback. He can defend the run. He has the perfect frame that you want. He already has a college size already, and then you put Mick Mariotti's strength and conditioning program on him. He could be a monster year one and be a contributor year one. So it's no surprise that 247's evaluators value DJ Jacobs as the top player in the country. And I don't know what it would take to move him off of that. Maybe knock on wood, an injury, maybe he gets triple teamed his senior year, so maybe he doesn't put up the numbers that you'd expect out of him. But, you just look at the film, you look at the measurements, you look at the raw talent, you look at everything. It's pretty clear that this guy's the best player in the country.
Mark, your thoughts? Obviously, that's going to be kind of a rehash here, but you've seen him, and no tears were shed, but you were close.
Like when you're a ranker and you do your own rankings and then you see other people's rankings and it jives with what you saw, it does give you a warm, fuzzy feeling. Bill Kurlick and I would say that all the time. If you go to a game and I go to a game and we both feel the same thing, I feel much better about my own. It's when you have a guy ranked whatever way off the mark is when you start to worry about yourself as an evaluator. DJ Jacobs, it plays a position that should be at the top of this list. Usually the top of this list is quarterbacks or something flashy like that, pass rushers. He is the guy this year. When we watched him, we knew he was off the charts, but of course I didn't know the national landscape, how many other creatures were out there. Apparently there are no other creatures like him out there. He's the one. So if he's the bar, and what we've been seeing, we broke down some other pass rushers that were just like a tick off of him that were still really good. So you could kind of see that, yes, this is the bar for which all of their pass rushers are measured this year. And if Garrick, he said if someone could pass him, show me the pass rusher that's going to do more damage at a bigger body that moves faster, and then you can slide them ahead of DJ Jacobs. But until then, I don't see it. And I know Garrick's going to get into this, but as I looked at this top 10 or even top 15, Dan, these are the guys we've been profiling over the last. Shocker. Like either Ohio State is on these guys or Dan Rubin has an innate sense of
no. Time out. Garrick made the wonderfully talented Garrick Hodge made that list. I just passed it along to you. I may have had a couple words to throw in, but I am no longer parked outside Jir Brown's house, which is about 20 minutes from here.
But you could see, as you know, Garrick's going to profile more of the Ohio State guys. These are almost household names for us as you're going to go through these guys, and we definitely have Buckeye in the skies on these. So I think we could pat ourselves in the back that, listen, we're keeping you ahead of this curve. When these lists comes out, it should be second nature as you're reading. It shouldn't be a surprise at the top of the list or a guy you've never heard of.
I think the Bucknuts big board that Garrick's going to release here in the next few weeks is going to kind of complete the circle, but you should be able to come to this site and be way ahead of the national media in terms of what we like and what the Buckeyes like and the video. If you really lock it in here, you will be ahead of the game. And I was saying to the guys before the show, it's no different if you follow an NFL team day to day and then hear the national coverage. There's no way for them to beat the boots on the ground. That's not possible. So that's what we offer. And this should be good stuff. All right.
Garrick, hey, Mark, who's number 12? Was he any good?
Number 12. Yeah, I would take that running back on my team. You know, I was kind of shocked here. I was looking at K'Mon Spell. Did they have him higher? Which I think we had when we watched. I think we liked Gabriel George's a little more than K'Mon Spell. So there you go. We're a little different than the national because we watched those videos, I think, a couple of days apart, and we said both elite. We would take either one. Those are the two guys. Circle them. But, yeah, to have Spell over George's, I would say okay. But, I mean, this is this thing about rankings. The difference between number 7 and number 12 is not much. It's minute. It may seem
especially if they're running backs, especially if they're in the same position.
Yeah, I mean
that's almost tags touching. That we call that. Like you got guys in tiers, their tags are touching. You can't really make a call. But if you scroll down, I mean, Manchin Sales we've talked about. My guy Brewster we've talked about. David Gabriel George's. So yeah, they know what they're doing here. Garrick, I'll let you take it next. We can either go rocket up or not up.
Let's stay with Ohio State commits because it'll be right on Mark's screen there. It'll come as a no surprise to you that Jir Brown is still within one of the top players in the country. He came in at number 20 on the national scale. He is the 4th best wide receiver at this current ranking, and very clearly he is the best prospect in the state of Ohio. So not a huge shock. If this was May, he would be a 5-star. The way that corporate does it, from what I understand, is they put out 32 5-star players every year to assemble 32 NFL draft picks. They usually don't assign that 5th star until about May, once they get an evaluation of guys on the camp circuit and get a little bit more, I guess, of an evaluation of the very high tier upper echelon guys. So if this was
24/7 Sports goal, and one of the reasons they've moved the rankings, if you read the story about the changes, they want to finish with 32 5-stars because there are 32 first-round picks in the NFL draft. Whether you agree with that approach or not, that's the one thing they try and keep consistent. So go ahead, Garrick. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. So Jir Brown would be a 5-star if it was the May rankings, and I think he's obviously going to be a 5-star. I don't envision him dropping very far, if at all. In fact, he might move up if he has a great offseason and a great senior year in Ohio. So there are 4 Ohio State commits total in the 2027 top 247. We've talked about 2 of them. Now let's talk about a guy that really shot up. He went from 3-star. He wasn't even in the top 247. And now he's a very high 4-star and borderline 5-star status, depending on how camps in his senior year goes. And that's Kellen Wymer.
44.
Yep, number 44. And I could gush about Kellen Wymer all day. So let's go to Mark, who has seen him and saw him very early and especially called me and said, hey, Kellen Wymer's a dude. You got to pay attention to him. And it seems that the rest of the country is caught up, haven't they, Mark?
It is. And because he played at a small school like Liberty Center, which isn't your, mainstay program in Ohio, I believe it was week 2. We went to see him last year and got eyes on him and got filmed for the Bucknutters. And it's nice to see him get rewarded in these rankings for that type of ability. He's a long player. He's got the body of, I think I compared him like a Jack Mewhort or something, but Jack Mewhort got much bigger. This is a younger version. He's got the athletic ability to play defensive line in college. He ran around on that film at defensive end, and he did some damage. And their team went on to win the state championship this year, I think. And, he's one of those players that he wasn't fully developed, but you could see he had that Big Ten body. And if he had to move into center or guard, that's not a problem. I don't know if he had the elite long tackle body, even though he has tackle feet. But this ranking is pretty high. And then there's another player I know we're going to talk about from a small school in Ohio, and I'll kind of lead you into that there.
Okay. Well, it's the final Ohio State commit in this rankings, and you'll have to scroll all the way to number 147 to pull it up. But he stayed very steady with his ranking from the fall, and that's linebacker Quinton Cipher, the linebacker commit from North Carolina that Ohio State was in a very competitive recruiting battle against Georgia for. He was at 147. His previous ranking was 150. And again, they are the dynamic duel down there in North Carolina with him and Ohio State defensive end target Rashad Streets. Both of them have video game numbers and play on the same defense, so it's not hard to figure out which two players are making the plays for Millbrook High School over there. James Laurinaitis identified Quinton Cipher as a must-get linebacker for Ohio State, and they secured him pretty early, and he felt like a priority. And it's kind of been a pleasure to watch Quinton mold into one of the top peer recruiters in Ohio State's 27 recruiting class. That guy is all Buckeye if you look at his social media feed. Okay, so now some not so great news as far as Ohio State's commits are concerned. We did have two that fell out, and that is the oft-talked-about quarterback Brady Edmonds. He was kind of on the fringe, top 247. I think his previous ranking was around 230, somewhere around there, and he fell out completely this year. I haven't had a chance to talk to our scouting team, but I will hopefully get to in the next couple days here just to kind of pick their brains on where they think he has a chance to improve. I'm guessing that maybe it's they think a lot of other guys are a little bit more mobile than him. I can tell you that I've seen him live, and the size, the frame, and the arm talent is as good as advertised completely. And he is the first prospect to earn an Elite 11 Invitational. I would say, yeah, it's disappointing to see Brady drop out, but ultimately, if he's the guy that Ohio State thinks he is and the guy I think he is and the guy that everyone that's watched him throw thinks he is, he's going to prove it at the Elite 11, and he's going to position himself right back up in the top 247 in the next rankings update. So ultimately, if Ryan Day puts a stamp of approval on a quarterback, I usually don't lose too much sleep over it, and I usually don't think too much about it afterwards. So I trust Ryan Day's evaluation on quarterbacks probably more than I trust anybody's in the college sphere. So not worried about Brady Edmonds or anything like that unless Ohio State starts to get worried. And as far as I know, they haven't been, even though if they are thinking about a second quarterback in the 27 class, but that has more to do with wanting to get 4 scholarship quarterbacks than it does their disbelief in Brady Edmonds. The other one that fell out is
Hold on 1 sec. I was going to say this. I had a little checklist in my brain of what I wanted to say, and you literally said everything I wanted to say there. Maybe the first time I've been speechless, so people can enjoy that and you can go on.
Well, I'm sorry to deprive the Bucknutters of Dan Rubin.
They'll make it. They will make it. Okay.
And the other one that fell out was Eli Johnson, which kind of surprised me a little bit because I think he was ranked 190 somewhere around there in last 247 update. I think he's the 26th ranked prospect as a safety. And mind you, both of these guys are still right around the top 247 prospects because 247 ranks up to 400 4 stars a year in a given cycle. And these guys both maintain 4-star status. It's not like they drop to a 3-star or anything like that. They're just kind of in that borderline area in the top 247 prospects. And obviously they only rank 247 for obvious reasons. But I think in terms of Eli, why he might have dropped out, we've done his tape before. It's not the flashiest tape you're going to see. I think Eli is more the consistent guy that's going to make the tackle, that's going to wrap up any given play. His frame's good at 6'3", 200 pounds, but you don't turn the highlight reel on, and this can happen a lot when you're scouting, and you see that big hit that makes a Dan Rubin go, whoa! Yeah. And whoa, hang on, Mark, play that clip again, like you've seen so many times.
Passion, Garrick.
That's right. I think Eli's great. I think he's going to be a great strong safety for Ohio State. I think that he is a capable starting safety in the Big Ten. And again, he's still a 4-star recruit. you only get 400 four-star recruits in the country on a given year. That is a very small percentage of high school football players. These are all still great players. But I don't know. We'll see how his camp performances go this offseason. We'll see how his senior year goes. And again, all it takes is 3 strong months for any of these guys to get right back in the rankings.
Yeah, you see Rashad Streets right there. So you see the guys you'll see the names that you recognize as they go here.
But what I'm scrolling for right now is I want to know all these quarterbacks ahead of Brady Edmonds. I'm specifically looking for quarterbacks as I'm scrolling. I see one committed to Michigan. I see one committed to Alabama. I see Gunnar Rivers committed to North Carolina State, and I see a handful of guys that aren't committed anywhere. I almost want to see how good those guys on film are if Brady Edmonds is behind them, because someone's got some explaining to do. There's a couple big-time quarterbacks on this list, and I mean, they're 6'5", 230 or whatever, and they look like Brady's size. I'd like to see them, why they're ahead of Brady. That is interesting to me. When you say Brady Edmonds drops that far down in the rankings, that doesn't bother me numerically. It just says, okay, who else should Ohio State be looking at? If I'm the Ohio State brass, show me the 10 quarterbacks that are better than the guy we have. And if we've made a mistake or in the evaluation process, things do change. Kids do grow. They get stronger. Let's go rewatch everybody again and make sure that we're on the right guy. And believe me, I think they're on the right guy. I mean, watching Brady all summer, you fell in love with that show up every day. Dan said it on the podcast Tuesday. Some of these people that went to the combine that didn't work out, that kind of says, I'm afraid. It says I'm not afraid when you show up every day and you have nothing to hide. Will Smith did that. He went to all the Ohio State camps. We've seen a lot of kids do that and be not afraid. And Brady Edmonds, you can throw in that category.
By the way, the other guy that they're recruiting heavily at quarterback, wonderful Champ Mons, as far as I understand, didn't make the top 247 either after reclassifying from 28 to 27. So Ohio State is not using these recruiting rankings to do evaluation on guys. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on whose viewpoint you're on, but fortunately for Ohio State, because they should be smarter than everyone else in the country at evaluating talent. So
keep this in mind. Last summer, we discussed this. Brady Edmonds came for a week. His younger brother came. The whole family was here. They probably had to get a Airbnb. Their hotel bill probably went off the charts. Every other quarterback you can think of came through town as well. An invitation to come work out at Ohio State is usually accepted. It wasn't like after that they had to revamp their plans. The opposite. So, look, and Mark can tell you this, recruiting, it's an ice cream thing. Some guys like certain flavors. Some guys don't. I don't know if the West Coast scout is just not a fan of Brady, but I want to go back to the point that Garrick made that I wanted to make, and that's he was invited to the Elite 11. So the test is coming. He'll get a chance to prove it in front of everybody. The LA camp was first. That's why he was invited first. But I'd be surprised if this doesn't end up with Ohio State being very happy with their quarterback and Brady Edmonds. And I'm not sure it even matters what the rankings are. You can go back and check that out. Offer list and who picked them. And if Brian Day picks you out, I'm into it. Go ahead, Mark.
And I'll say this, being a ranker or doing rankings, it's all about sample size. When did you see the player and where did you see the player? And I tell you what, the word omnipresent, I'd like to think that the rankers and myself could be omnipresent at every game on Friday night all the time. And I think people think that we are. Oh, Mark Porter goes to all 10 games for St. Ed, St. Ignatius, St. Xavier. He's at all of them. No, he's at a half for a bunch of them. And then he watches more on tape. And the same with the national rankers. So you can get a sample size of a player where, hey, I saw him this night and he didn't look good. That night, it wasn't a good backdrop to evaluate him. Or I saw him at a camp where for the 10 minutes I spent watching the quarterbacks, he had some bad throws. So I'm real careful with my sample size, especially when it skews really good or really bad. Like, did I catch him on a hot moment, or is this who really is? So that's the trouble with college evaluations and people like us that are ranking. If we could just have more information, we could do better. We're not NFL guys that really get all the dirt on everybody and all the information. We don't have the FBI background checker feeding us a dossier a couple of days later. Here's what we know. So expect these rankings to be adjusted. And I like what you guys just said. Hey, he's going to have a chance to settle it on the field, the Elite 11, and that's where it should be settled.
Mark, I want to piggyback on what you just said there. That's not hyperbole. For the NFL, you're not getting away with anything. I'll just tell you that in the NFL. They know what you're doing. They have basically the CIA checking you out. How about this? Most school systems, at least the one I covered, had a retired FBI agent just checking for athletic residents in Fairfax County when I worked there. They would, if you tried to say you were going to another school, they would camp their security guy at your house at 4:00 in the morning and make sure you're going in and out. Imagine what it gets like to this level. I had an internship with an NBA team once, and free agency came around, and I may or may not have peeked at the exclusive preview for management. 3 of the guys were alcoholics of the 10 on the board. I didn't know that. They know everything, dude. So it kind of hold it against them then when they take bad dudes, because they know he's a bad dude. They're just rolling the dice on the talent. At this point in time, with this amount of money and intrigue, no one's sneaking up on anybody, okay? And I will say this, being quarterback at Ohio State is as much a mental grind as it is physical. You got to have you are going to be under scrutiny that, I mean, what is it? Paparazzi level scrutiny. I mean, some of these kids, I'm going to go into detail. I remember Aaron Kraft, for example. There were tweets going out. There was like a tracker on where he was on campus. That it was like a social. It's not a normal existence. If Brady's ready to handle that, like other guys have, like Will Howard came in and crushed it, or even this past season when Julian came in, it's a big ask. So if Ryan Day is on board, and Billy Fessler is on board, and they've put him through the ringer, and they think he's the guy, then we are into it. All right, Garrick, are there any other? Let's go way to the top real quick. Mark, all the way up top. Garrick, of the guys that scroll through in the first 10 seconds or so, who are you really geeked about? I mean, who are the guys on this part of the list that you think Ohio State's really dug in on?
Well, that's a kind of a two-part question, because I can be really geeked about a guy, and it's debatable whether Ohio State can ultimately get him, because obviously modern recruiting enhances modern
sure,
ways.
But just the ones they are sold on, you think, at the top.
Okay, sure. David Gabriel Georges is an easy answer to that question. Ranked number 12, he is one of the 4 new 5-stars in this ranking. Very clearly either the best or at the very top, at the very least 1B running back in the 2027 cycle. Ohio State's done a better job of recruiting him than anybody. I continue to love where Ohio State sits with Gabriel Georges right now. I think a lot of people say, when is he going to make a decision? I think that's probably coming sometime in the summer. It would be nice if he commits earlier and commits to the Scarlet and Gray. I don't think anyone would complain about that, but still, I believe it's a 2-horse race between Tennessee and Ohio State. I give a slight lean to Ohio State in that recruitment right now, but we'll have to see where things are in official visit season, because that'll be the next time David Gabriel Georges is supposed to be on campus. Now, I answered this in a chat like 2 weeks ago. If you could give Ohio State a magic bean and said, all right, this guy's going to be in our class no matter what, and obviously they already have DJ Jacobs, so he is excluded from this. If you gave them a magic bean and could take anyone that's not committed and put in their current class right now, they would take Jaylen Brewster.
Oh, I was going to guess that. Good.
Yes. So the problem with that is Dan Rubin's new nightmare on the recruiting trail, and that he is committed to Texas. Yes. So now, having said that, he seems to be open to at least exploring other options, and there are no shortage of schools that are still contacting Jaylen, and they will continue to do so up until December, until pen hits paper. But another one that I wouldn't put Ohio State's favorite for, but I know he's at the top of their list for on the position, is John Meredith, the cornerback out of Texas. He's all the way up at number 5, I believe.
Hello.
Yes. So John Meredith, he has shown some reciprocated interest in Ohio State. He visited Ohio State this past fall. Stop me if you've heard this before. Texas A&M is very interested in a very talented secondary player. lot of indications are that might be where he ends up. We'll see. He seems to kind of be honing on four school right now. But John Meredith, I think, would be at the top of their cornerback board if you privately asked them today, and they could pick any cornerback to put in their class. So, and then if we want to regurgitate the same things we've said about offensive linemen, Mark Matthews at number 3 and Maxwell Hiller at number 4. Both of those guys are very high atop Ohio State's recruiting board and will continue to be until they ultimately commit or sign elsewhere. So, but yes, in terms of the guy that is the highest on this list that Ohio State has a great chance of getting, my answer would be David Gabriel Georges, and that guy continues to get all his deserved flowers. And I mean, if he commits to the Buckeyes, we're going to show his tape on here at least 10 more times before he ends up signing, because it's just that dynamic. I mean, I haven't thought of a unfair pro comparison to put on this young man yet, but he's a guy that I think is going to take snaps day one for whatever college program he goes to.
He's spectacular.
Garrick, do you know where Eric McFarland and Easton Royal are on this list?
Yeah, they are. I
mean, because
Eric McFarland is 33, dropped 6 spots from 27, and Eastern Royal is 30, dropped 6 spots from 24.
Those are noteworthy because 33 would be your first 4-star. I mean, it may not hold, but those 3 receivers, Sales, McFarland, and the other guy, they clearly are in the mix. And you consider they already have Jir Brown in the fold. So maybe we are still wide receiver South Florida. That would be a good development. All right, we're going to now introduce you. We're going to move on, and we will get to all whatever questions you got. Throw them in there because we will get to those at the end, including one about Mississippi that cracks me up. But I digress. Let's meet AJ Randle. It seems Ohio State has taken a liking, Garrick, to the state of North Carolina. We talked about Quinton Cipher and hopefully his running mate, high school and college, Mr. Rashad Streets. And now we were up with Arosin AJ Randle. Let's go with AJ. Very impressive player and a very impressive athlete. I was just reading his bio. 4th in the 110 hurdles as a sophomore. His mom's in the Clemson Hall of Fame for track. His sister runs track at Kansas. His brother finished up at Michigan State, had a cup of coffee in the NFL with certain NFL teams, and is now in the CFL. But you want to talk about a blessed athlete? Hurdles is hard, okay? Hurdles requires everything, mental, physical, the training. If you ever watch someone train on the hurdles, I ran track for it is discipline, man. It is fine tuning. So I love the mental physical combo on that. Garrick, can you please let us know what you know about him and how Ohio State wants him? And then we will get Mark in there with the video. He is a multi-talented athlete, plays all over the field.
Yeah. James Laurinaitis visited this guy twice within the open period in January to give you an indication of how high he is on him. And then AJ visited Ohio State for the UCLA game in November. So and he already has a visit scheduled. Stop me if you've heard this before. April 4th. So yes, that's another big weekend that you should be a Bucknut subscriber for, because there's going to be a lot of good stuff that comes out of that weekend. Anyhow, AJ Randle. Mark, if I tell you that a player gets extensive snaps at linebacker, quarterback, and wide receiver on one team, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Athlete.
Yes. So last year, just at linebacker alone, he was credited with 84 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, and an interception in 13 games. On offense, he carried the ball 20 times for 119 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns, and he also caught 5 passes for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns, while also getting a couple snaps at quarterback. So this guy can do anything you ask him all over the field. I've been pounding the table for months now that this guy should be a high 4-star recruit. Especially because when we initially brought him up and told you guys about him, he was a 3-star recruit. And what's Dan Rubin recruiting knowledge? Number 1, don't look at the ranking, look at the offers. And this man has 50, I repeat, 50 Division I offers. So that tells you just how coveted he is. 6'3", 210 pounds. I think James Laurinaitis is really gung-ho about getting this guy back up here, and I wouldn't be surprised if they try to push for a commitment after that April visit, we'll see if it works. Yeah, I would assume that a guy as highly coveted as him would like to go into official visit season and do his due diligence. But yeah, guys, I'm sensing a lot of optimism with Ohio State and AJ Randle right now. And he goes from unranked to number 133 in the country. So it seems that 247 has listened to my pleas and has ranked AJ Randle, because this guy just does it everywhere.
Mark, take it away.
Yeah, you guys really touched on one of the things that when I was making the film, I could have made it an offensive highlight film. In fact, I didn't know he played offense at all. And when you see him run the ball at offense, he is blazing fast. The receiver, he lines up and dominates. I put his linebacker stuff first because I wanted to really show the position he's going to be playing, but his highlight film was off the charts. He plays out in space. He plays safety over the top. You forgot that, Garrick. We have pictures or snaps of him playing free safety because he has the speed of a free safety. You see him here on this rundown. I finished the film with 5 or 6 rundowns, and I left some out where guys in open field, the best athlete on the other team is not running away from him. Talk about the track speed in his family. It shows up. There are so many cool clips of him just showing all-out speed. But here he is in space, and this is the first off-the-ball linebacker we've watched in a couple of weeks. We've been watching a lot of pass rushers and guys that have their hand in the dirt. This guy is all freaking race car. When he gets going, he can't be stopped. I mean, the putting the hand in the dirt, this isn't going to be for him. He's more of a Sonny Styles type. You can see he looks a little bit like Sonny Styles with that long body. But boy, I think you could put some more weight on this frame, and I could see why his ranking went from unranked to 133. It's pretty obvious this is a freak athlete. At Ohio State, you probably play him at will, but you can play him at sim. Here we go with these rundowns where it's crazy. I mean, you usually have a safety or a corner that gets guys from behind. He's a linebacker doing it, so very impressive.
Looks tall.
That's what
we've talked about guys who were like, does he like his streets? We were like, he's listed at what? This guy looks tall.
I mean, he looks like Sonny Styles. That's why I kind of threw. And I know that's a little bit. Sonny just had the most amazing combine ever. So now everybody's Sonny. But check out this run at quarterback. I mean, if that's not Terrell Pryor-esque or something like that, I mean,
he's just swallowing space with his strides.
Yeah. I mean, at receiver here, I think we put in a clip, but boy, when you guys started off talking about his athletic background, I was like, well, that matches exactly what we're going to see here in a second. You guys are previewing this perfectly.
That was awesome. All right. There was a question here about, which cracks me up, this. So I know you guys think I'm full of it sometimes, and a lot of people do. That's all right. Mika, number 1 in the clubhouse. I love Mitchell Turner, 6'3", 280 defensive lineman out of Louisville High School in Mississippi. The only reason I know that is I've been to Mississippi one time, and it's because one of my best friends from college married a girl from Louisville High School. And I got the wedding invitation. I'm like, you're making us go to Louisville, Mississippi for a wedding, dude? And he's like, no, it's not Louisville. It's Louisville. And let me tell you something. Mississippi that's one spot it's no joke.
Hey, I lived in Mississippi for 2 years. I made the same mistake, if it makes you feel any. Yeah, I used to call Louisville, and I was like, y'all, you ain't from around here, are you?
Yeah, seriously.
But
there's other things we could discuss there.
I
have not seen him play. We will get on that. But
he did.
Yesterday we asked about Eddie Royal, who I covered in high school, and then we asked about. So I feel like someone's spying on me. But go ahead.
Really quick about Mitchell Turner. They just offered him a couple days ago, actually, on March 3rd. So very new to him. He is, if you want to get into his ranking, the 48th prospect in the country, 3rd defensive lineman, the top prospect in the entire state of Mississippi per 247. So yes, this is another heavy hitter that they're looking at. This would kind of be an interior defensive line. He's at 6'3", 275. So again, very new to the relationship. A lot of work to do here if Ohio State's going to be in on this guy. But yeah, Mitchell Turner is a great player, and we'll have to see where things go with him in Ohio State.
I'm trying to remember the last guy they've gotten from Mississippi.
I thought it was going to be Braylon Womack for a while there, but
we all did. Sure. And he he loves that state enough that he stayed in Starkville. Probably should take your offers earlier, kids. I don't I can't remember if we've had it. I'm sure the chat will help us out here, but it's one of those states that especially when they had big guys. Remember Dwayne Long saying, we could never get the big guys out of Mississippi or Louisville, could never get those floppy bellies to migrate north. All right. All right. Coach Chillicothe, this is turning to you here, Mark.
Yep.
A lot of options big, and one of them is that team up north, Penn State. Who are we talking about here? Do you know that, or did I ambush you?
Yeah, no, we went to his showcase and we featured film of him. Carte Ligon, I think.
The boarding house had something on him recently.
Yeah, he has blown up. He's a 20+ offer guy by now. Penn State just went into, maybe Michigan is in on him. Watching his film, I'm not sure if he's a receiver, running back, or defensive back. He does all of them at a high level. He's explosive. He's got long speed. He's going to be someone that Ohio State is kicking the tires on. It may take a camp. They may have to officially get a weight or a height on him or whatever, but his film definitely blows you off the charts. Maybe he's blowing away the competition a little too much in the film, and they say, okay, that looks a little easy. Let's see how you do against bigger competition. But I think if we walked into Ohio State's board, we would see his name, and it might be athlete listed by him right now. He might not be a receiver. I think some of the receivers nationally have a lot more polish, than him out there. But when he plays receiver, he shows you the skills. Running back, I think he's listed at 185, and that may be not correct, which is a little light for running back. So you see where I'm at with this. Like he has some tape and some skills, but there's like Garrick and I were talking the other day. There might be like one question mark. He might check 4 of the 5 boxes, but that one last box, they're probably waiting to get a little more of a comfortable feeling on him. But that's definitely a name we need to track.
Teams like Penn State are aware that you want to check that last box. So they slide in here when box 4 is checked, hope to get ahead of the game and see if they can steal someone out of Ohio. And it comes down to the money, yada, yada. I want to end with this. LV Buckeyes, what do you think of the number of recruits we go all in for, 12 to 15? I want to bring this up to again tease what Garrick is working on, the Bucknuts big board, in which we're going to take the recruits and put them in NFL-style board, meaning Mark Bantoni's interview recently where he laid out exactly how they're qualifying recruits now. We are going to qualify them for you ahead of time. So then when you go to watch the recruiting, you can only have the rankings, but you have another tool to use and say, okay, if it's this guy or that guy, who are they going all in for? Maybe Ohio State has a guy in this category. And then, there's the 3 NFL categories, first round picks, day 2, and then, third day free agent types. We will categorize those guys. So then you'll know during recruitment, who do they want more? Who could get paid the most? That kind of thing, because that's really how they do it now. We've got an NFL system going here. I saw,
It was nice when they all got equal scholarships. Now it's not equal scholarships. You could come in as one of those 25 and think, hey, I might be the number 1 guy in the class. I got the same thing everyone else got. And you definitely might not be number 1 in the class.
No. Here's one other thing. When it gets to Ohio State's level, I don't think there's a lot of mystery in the room at how much everyone got. Maybe at some other schools, but when you're at the top of the food chain and you're making your decisions based on how other people in said chain are compensated. Now, I'm not saying they're sitting there comparing W-2s, but I think there's a pretty clear pecking order at Ohio State. I'm not sure it's like that at the other schools that have the luxury of recruiting at such a high level, but I think Mark makes a good point. Look, it can still be done. There are going to be guys who walk on that end up rich because they're human beings, and 18-year-olds don't look like 23-year-olds. I get that, but for the most part.
I'll answer Vegas's question this way. It's hard to tell exactly. I think 12 to 15 is a really good guess. But so to give you kind of an idea of where things are at there, I asked around probably about 2-ish months ago to a lot of different good sources. And basically the questions were prefaced like this. How many players do you think you're going to take at X position? How many players do you think you're going to take at Y position? And multiple sources gave pretty much the same answer. Well, ideally X number, but it varies based off of X, 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 and X. And some of those variables are, for example, after week 3, they knew Arbel Reese was going to the NFL draft. They didn't expect that this time last year. So what do? They pivot and they go after a Braxton Rembert, a guy that was ranked in the 1000s, and now he's finished in the close to the top 200 players in the country. So when they realize that there might be more attrition on their roster than they were expecting, they have to pivot. Another thing is, cost, resource effectiveness. How much do you want to spend on cornerback number 1? How much do you want to spend on cornerback number 2? Is it more worth it to go after 2 very good cornerbacks or 1 very good, very, very good elite cornerback? And again, these are all just positional examples, but yeah, ideally, I think what the approach is going to be here is I think they're going to try to spend very big in the trenches. I think if there's any silver lining that came from that Miami game, it's that they understood those boys were loaded on both sides of the ball up front, and we got to try to do the same thing. So you saw that with DJ Jacobs. Start 1, I think that they're going to make it a goal to get a really good premier out-of-state offensive lineman. We'll see if they convert on that. But I think that Miami game certainly opened some eyes of, all right, we're going to put a little resource into up front on both sides. And you've seen it pay off with DJ Jacobs. But to give an overall answer, I think 12 to 15 guys is about the amount you can pay of that magnitude. And there's going to be more commits in there. I think you're going to get probably, if I had to guess today, I think my latest mock class had 25, 26 guys in there because you still have, 90 scholarships available. So you still have to take what they're end up going to taking is probably a lot of Ohio guys, to what Mark is saying. There's 4 box check, but there's not a 5th box checked. And the 5th box won't be checked by the time they're done as a senior. And they're going to gamble on some guys. And if you want to talk to an NFL draft model, Ohio State's going to try to hit on a couple day 3 picks, your 5th, 6th, 7th round picks, and a couple undrafted free agents. And ultimately, they're going to miss more on those guys than they hit. But if you hit on 3 or 4 of those guys, it does really well for a program.
Keep this in mind, too, and I'll end with this. There are 32 first-round draft picks in every draft because there are 32 teams. If you geek out and find this, most evaluators have 12 to 18 first-round grades every cycle. Just because there's 32 picks doesn't mean there are at least 32 first-round talents, okay? So those 12 to 15 are the guys they're really going after, right? Those are the first-round draft picks. Guys who get picked 20 and on in the NFL draft don't usually have first-round grades. They have second-round grades. That doesn't mean the idea that there would just be 32 and 32 every year doesn't make any sense. So it's like Bill Kerr used to say, there are 5 stars and there are 5 stars. The 5 stars on the board that we're going to give you are the ones who, can have a beach house at 20. And then it goes down from there. Go ahead, Mark.
Like the Patriots were famous for trading out of that end of the first round and getting 2 or 3 second rounders and saying, let's put more irons in the fire. And I'll just digress into one more thing. Youngstown State, if you know about FCS football, they don't get 85 scholarships. They get 63, and they can divide those scholarships in half. So YSU at one point in time in the past said, you know what, we can't get MAC caliber prospects unless we offer them full scholarships. But if we offer full scholarships, we're only going to be able to bring in about 8 or 10 players a year because we don't have as many scholarships as they do. But they did that, and one year they got 8 or 10 really great players, equal to the MAC or Division I. Okay, the next year when they brought in 10 players, 2 of them worked out, 8 of them turned out to be dogs. Okay, and it destroyed them. Okay, now the next coach came in and said, I'm going to split those scholarships in half or even quarters, and I'm going to bring in 25 or 30 or maybe even 40 guys a year and let them all fight it out like dogs, and I will find my 10. And to Dan said it a little bit ago, don't think there isn't going to be a walk-on that doesn't show up. And I almost want to ask you guys, if you were a coach at Youngstown, which theoretic would you go with? Would you say, hey, I want the better caliber player and I'm willing to gamble, like you're saying Ohio State is, and pay someone a lot to get him as one of those top guys? Or let me take a bunch of these second and third rounders, okay, and accumulate them and, let me see what the 23-year-old looks like instead of betting on him at 18.
Well, my answer to that is option C, transfer portal. That's what I'm doing at Youngstown State. I'm just building my entire team off of.
You had to nuke my question, but you get it. It's a theoretic thing. Whereas a staff, boy, what are we better with, the numbers game, or are we better firing on sure things?
Yeah, sure things for sure.
What's interesting to me is like the transfer portal, like Akeem Mesidor. Let's bring it back to what we saw. He tortured us in that game, and he was a great player. And my guy is almost 25 years old, and no one thought he was a first-round draft pick when he was at West Virginia. He comes to Miami, and he's now going to be in the first round. There's an art to finding guys like that, just like there's an art to recruiting. And, we've already shown that we can hack it in the transfer portal. I mean, if you go look, Ohio, as much as people don't, Ohio State has crushed the transfer portal player for player. I mean, who's the best defensive player ever to be in the transfer portal? Caleb Downs. Yeah. We've gotten quarterbacks out of the transfer portal. Will Howard worked out okay. Justin Fields was decent. I mean, come on, man. Go look through. So they've done a great job with it. It's balancing and putting it all together. That's done it for him. All right. Once again, at 25 minutes, I was worried, and we gave you guys 5 minutes and now 6 minutes of free content. Can't beat these guys. Stuff is great. You'll be all over it. So have a good one.